Members of the committee, thank you for having me tonight and listening to my testimony. I have a lot in common with Colonel Manny, including our hairline, but I'm not nearly as eloquent, so please bear with me. I'm here in my capacity as the current chief of BCI, and I'm also here to share 25 years of law enforcement experience with the Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. By way of my background, I'd also like to share that, similar to Colonel Manny, I learned to shoot when I was 12 years old, hunted deer, duck, pheasant, all of that. I have 3 boys, taught all of them how to shoot. So I'm familiar with both sides of this issue, up close and personal, and I'm simply here to share my experiences with you all, specifically in enforcement of firearms laws. And so with that, I'd like to address 3 of the specific proposed laws. The first of which is House Bill 5703, the quote-unquote ban on ghost guns. I'm sure most of you are familiar now that ghost guns is a euphemism for essentially untraceable firearms, which are mainly manufactured by individuals at home. Some of those include 3D printed guns. I support that legislation, again, coming from my background in enforcement of gun laws, and that those particular firearms are untraceable. My first year with ATF, I spent at the tracing center, tracing firearms, just doing that. Criminal guns that were used in crimes around the country, tracking them down and furnishing that information to police officers. The ability to trace a firearm is essential to law enforcement. Not having that information, having homemade guns that are out there that can be sold, manufactured, distributed, illegally possessed, illegally sold, in my opinion, is just inexcusable, because it allows a way around the laws that we have in place to protect the public. Specifically, it bypasses one of the most essential things, and that's a background check. If you can just go out and make your own gun, why would you need to go and purchase one? Secondly, the 3D guns in particular, which are manufactured mainly from polymer bases, are undetectable. The implications there are obvious. If we cannot screen for them, we can take them into just about any area, including airlines, airports, federal courts, state courts, etc. Second bill I'd like to speak about is House Bill number 5754, and this is essentially an enhancement to a current law already on the books, and this refers to the straw purchase of firearms. Again, straw purchase is another slang word that we use to describe when a legal purchaser goes into a licensed dealer and purchases a firearm on behalf of someone who was otherwise prohibited from buying that gun. And so while we already have a law on the book, that law doesn't have a lot of teeth to it. And so what we're finding is that there's really not a lot of deterrence, in fact, with the current law on the books. And so that's the purpose in enhancing the penalties provisions for that particular law. Lastly, I'd like to speak about House Bill 5752, and that pertains to reporting of lost or stolen firearms. Again, this is a similar topic in that there's already a law on the books here, and that law currently calls for a $50 fine if you fail to report your lost or stolen firearm. I can tell you of dozens of cases that I've investigated. One of my very first cases here in Rhode Island was a case in which a young lady was going and straw purchasing her firearms for her boyfriend, who was a drug addict, who in turn was selling them, or more aptly trading them, for narcotics with drug dealers and gang members from the east side of Providence. And one of the ways that she was getting around that is once she would buy them, and when I confronted her, she said, "Oh, I reported them stolen." This is a common theme and has been a common theme in my 20 years of enforcement in Rhode Island. Criminals get smart to the system. They know that if they do get caught straw purchasing, that they need to have an excuse where those guns went. The common excuse is, "Oh, I lost them." "Oh, well, they were stolen." And frankly, in law enforcement, we have very little repercussion. A $50 fine is not much of a deterrence from this. And that would complete my testimony on those three bills, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ed.